a lot of people, are in bands, and the guys in the bands are just, they're bandmates, and they're not necessarily like close with them, but I'm close with all the guys in my band, and I love them, and I love traveling with them, and like I really look forward to it. So I can't wait to get back out with them.
What? Ooh. What? You ask the hard questions, don't you? Come on, man.
Hi, I'm Jake Bowen. I am one of the guitar players in Periphery. I am a multi-instrumentalist and solo artist and producer. Man, you're giving me tough ones. If I got to pick, probably digital, because I use Spotify more than I use my vinyl player. But I actually just passively have I have a pretty neat vinyl collection. Like it's mostly modern stuff. I do have some classic, but I listen to Spotify like every day, even though like they're not very kind to the artist royalty wise. I still use the hell out of Spotify. Animals, absolutely. I'm one of those weird sociopaths that like gets really upset when like an animal dies in a movie, but when a person dies in the movie, I'm like, this is my animal. Well, back when like touring was like a thing, now we're like in COVID time. I used to like to bounce back and forth. When I've had enough touring, then I go into my cave, and we've been recording new Periphery, and we've all been working on our solo projects. And it's just been like, we're kind of getting to the point where it's like, okay, enough recording. Let's finish up this new Periphery album and go back out. But then like, all this new COVID variant stuff happens, and you see everybody with like really good intentions trying to get back out there and get back to normal, and then they end up canceling their tour. So I guess right now I really want to get back out on the road. I miss it. It's like I love hanging out with my band. They're a lot of people are in bands, and the guys in the bands are just they're bandmates, and they're not necessarily like close with them, but I'm close with all the guys in my band. And I love them, and I love traveling with them, and like I really look forward to it. So I can't wait to get back out with them. Historically, I've probably played just an inordinate amount of hours on Game Boy. I actually still have the original, gray and white. And whenever I'm like waiting to go somewhere, or like I have an extra minute, I'll just turn that on and get a couple of lines in Tetris. But so I'd have to say that one, just because that's the one I've played the most. I'd have to say the 80s. I mean, I was born in 83, so the most I could really like make any sense of the 80s was 89. The thing about the 80s that made it so special is you really had the emergence of digital recording techniques with like synthesizers and stuff. That's why like synthwave and those kinds of genres of music are so big right now. It's because like that was kind of the first time that it really took hold and made a new style. And then you had the second renaissance of video gaming, so like video games almost went extinct in the early 80s. I don't think people realize that. And then they slowly took hold again, and and now gaming is just kind of out of control with how advanced it is. But I feel like the 80s was largely responsible for that. Oh man, that's a really tough one. I mean, I'd probably have to say Joe Pass, just because I know that my grandfather, who is an incredibly accomplished jazz pianist, he loved Joe Pass. I'm sure he loved Miles Davis too, but I would always hear him talk, and my family talk about Joe Pass. I'm always listening to Joe Pass, and it's like kind of like he's like one of the few jazz guitar players that's just like always hits the right notes, and it's just like really understands the instrument on a level and plays with people who understand their instruments on the level that it's just like they make it seem effortless, even though I know like their entire lives have gone into perfecting what they do. So yeah, Joe Pass. Melody. Sometimes I appreciate good lyrics when I hear them, but It's usually the very last thing that I notice. I always defer to other people to write lyrical stuff. I can write melodies and write phrases and vocal lines and stuff like that, but putting words to them, I'm not much of a poet, and I barely have a grasp of the English language. So I try to stay away from it just because I don't have enough practice. See, this is another question where I use both. So I'd say my main guitar tone will come from the Axe FX3 and the 2. And then we'll have that piped into our in-ear monitors, but then we'll have a secondary output that bypasses the cab simulation on the amp modeler and goes into the return of the effects loop on our tube amps. So then that way we get that stage sound. So we do both. And that way we get the consistency of the digital, the consistency, and also kind of like the impossible tone of the digital stuff. And then, the people in the front row won't need to rely solely on the PA to hear what's going on stage. And we also kind of get that air pushing out of the cabinets, and it's like a really, it feels good. It's all about feel. So we do both. So and then we do both in the studio too. It just depends on what we're working on. And, we try to do different amp tones for different songs and different approaches for different songs. So that really truly is a both answer, and really not trying to be a cop out. I'm a morning person, 100%. Last night I went to bed at 9:45 p.m. and I was just like, man, I'm an old guy. And I was I was excited to go to bed that early because I knew I'd be up early. And I got this new espresso machine, and I've been getting really good at making really good coffee. Cause Americans are really used to shitty coffee. They'll drink anything. And now I've gotten into the kind of the art of making coffee, and now I'm just addicted to really good coffee. Coffee beans, because grounded coffee has its place, but now I'm, like I mentioned earlier, it's I got into making coffee, so you're gonna want to grind it fresh when you're about to pull your espresso shot. So definitely beans. Oh, the gym. I've been going 3 or 4 times a week, and I'm kind of at that point where I'm super addicted to it, and I haven't missed a day since I signed up, and I just feel like I'm kind of on this really good path with it. Final Fantasy VI. It's interesting about that game because I didn't know that Final Fantasy VI was Final Fantasy VI. It came to America as Final Fantasy III because the other ones hadn't been released here. So they were just well, we don't want to confuse the people who've bought the previous one, which is actually Final Fantasy IV, I think. When Final Fantasy VII came out, they released it as 7 in North America. So I'm what the hell is going on here? I was so offended as this little, I think I was in 6th or 7th grade. I was so offended that they didn't release these other games here. I was did I just fall asleep? And that I stayed away from 7 for a really long time. And then it became I watched it become one of the greatest games ever made. And, I was kind of bitter about it for the longest time. I'm actually playing through it right now. Oh, the Replicator. I'd be I think I want a beef stew tonight with a milkshake and, a big basket of tots, and it's just boom, it's there. And, make coffee for you. And, I wonder if it could replicate money. Just, be yo, give me $500. Those guys are the kings of the modern shredder. You got those guys, you got Yngwie, you got maybe even Stevie Ray Vaughan, you got, Eddie Van Halen. Without those guys, bands like Periphery wouldn't be a thing. So it's like, it's hard to pick one. I've seen G3 a couple of times, and when Joe comes on, I get really amped for some reason. I maybe because he's a little bit more laid back in terms of his his playing style isn't as frenetic as Vai's, even though I love Vai's. I think, and I like Satriani's approach because it's very blues based. But yeah, it's great when they all like come out and they all like take turns, and you can just hear the various styles just kind of intertwining. It's really cool. Summer. I used to be a winter person, especially because I live in the Northeast of the United States. And then whenever I go to like LA with the band or whatever, I'm driving around and I'm like, man, I could really get used to this. But the issue is like all my family and friends are on the East Coast. So, well, most of them anyways. Singing in the shower. I actually have this like waterproof Bluetooth speaker that I keep in the shower, and it's got like soap all over it and stuff. But I don't usually like when people hear me sing, even though I sing backup live with Periphery. That's kind of different because I'm with the band, I'm buried in the mix. Like, but yeah, I'm not, I don't, unless like no one's home. I have a strange relationship with both. I feel like I can't truly be myself on either. I don't want to discount all of the opportunities and all the great things that both of those things have brought my career, meeting people, staying in touch with people, like that all that stuff is great. But I feel like there's a lot of emergent mental illness that is attached to both these things. And I've tried to take stock of what it's doing to my mind. And I'm very wary of how people currently use these things. And I also started to notice that like when you're constantly promoting things on these services, people kind of get numb to them, especially if you've been around for over a decade, like Periphery has. It's kind of like, people just want certain things, and you can see it by the type of impressions each post get. So like if I post something about a guitar, that thing will get like 6,000 likes. Sometimes they've gone up to 10,000 likes. And then if I post something about music or like a video or something, it gets like a tiny fraction of that. So it's like really trying to figure out what's the best use of it, and also like how it's going to affect people perceiving your brand. And that kind of makes me tired. Like I get exhausted thinking about it. I don't love that, and that's kind of what I mean, where like I can't really be myself, because myself is, I have my good days and my bad days. And when you're on social media, you don't want to like, I feel like people just see your good days. And that's not realistic. I could go down. I have so many opinions on this. So I'm very wary of social media. Documentaries. I hate reality shows. I like the fake reality shows like Arrested Development. But yeah, I'm a big documentary guy. I like beard oil. The problem with beard balm is that you really have to work it in. Otherwise, it'll look weird, or it'll like get like kind of gunked up. And with the oil, it's a little bit easier to. Oh, I need both those to be normal. I think I'd rather skip a meal. I think I could stand it. If I don't get sleep, I'm an asshole. More so than usual. A lot of times I don't realize that movies have been books, because I'm not like the biggest reader. The last book that I finished was Call of the Wild. The book is kind of told from the perspective of a dog, which I think is like really, really cool. And the movie just didn't really have me like feeling, that didn't give me the same feeling. So at least in that instance, I definitely preferred the book. But like a lot of times I don't realize that movies that were books are. I'm a big space guy, and I'm really excited because the James Webb Telescope just had a successful launch. It's the Hubble's successor, and the Hubble brought us so many amazing pictures and so much information about the universe that we, it was only theoretical up until we got this stuff from the Hubble. So like being able to see even further and even greater detail. And, I think we're going to learn a lot, and I think it's going to change the way people look at space and the universe. And it's really cool. So I'm excited to see what that brings. Making love? What's that? I've never done that before. I'd have to say making music, because I feel like there's a concentration in both that you're kind of like, you have to be in the zone to do it right. Otherwise, you're going to sit there for 2 minutes and then it's going to be gone. I think I'm better at making music. I guess it depends on the party. I'm generally the host. I cook a lot, and I kind of organize things. I'm always the wallflower when I attend parties, because I'm bad at small talk, and I have trouble remembering people's names. And I'm good at putting my foot in my mouth for some reason. So I try to just I listen and I enjoy being in the presence of other people, but I'd say I'm a better host than I am attendee. Probably played more Grand Theft Auto Online than anything, but right now I'm playing Red Dead Redemption Online with my buddy Kevin. We talk in like old timey cowboy voices and stuff. We're like, howdy, partner. I want to mosey on down to the creek and catch some fish. And like, we're just like cackling like idiots. And I love a good pair of speakers. It's kind of funny because like in every room of my house, there's a set of speakers. There's like big ones, little ones, medium-sized ones, and getting your sound to translate. So like headphones and speakers is really tough, because usually you'll mix on one set of speakers, sometimes two if you're lucky, and some headphones. But if you don't check the low end, or there could be a lot of mid-range, and referencing mixes is one of the like biggest things that recording artists do, is like to check it out on different stuff. So that's why I have speakers all over my house.